The sub 250 gram drone market is definitely heating up with the recent release of the Autel Nano series and a speculation of an update to the DJI Mini series, the Mini 3 not far away. Buy the Autel Nano now or wait for the Mini 3. I know exactly what I'd do, so don't go away. Hey guys, Mike here and welcome back to the channel. So Autel have finally started shipping the Nano and Lite series of drones they announced in September 2021. Better late than never. Now, are they worth buying or should you wait until the release of the DJI Mini 3, which is speculated to arrive in April this year? Nothing confirmed as yet, by the way, so just bear that in mind. Now, I know exactly what I do and I'll share that later. So what are the things you have to consider? Let's get straight into it. First up, the Autel Nano comes in two flavors, the Nano and the Nano Plus. The main difference between the two is the camera. The Nano Plus having a 50 megapixel 1/1.28 inch CMOS sensor versus the Nano that has a half-inch sensor. In terms of a horses for courses comparison, you could roughly say the Nano compares favorably to the DJI Mini 2, whilst the Nano Plus is the version where Autel have really exceeded the Mini 2, but most probably are trying to combat the Mini 3 if and when that arrives. Again, in this model, they've included a 1/1.28 inch sensor, which is considerably larger than the sensor in the Mini 2. Another thing to note is the aperture of f1.9, which would drastically improve the camera's performance in low light. The next major thing that Autel have included in this Nano model is the addition of obstacle avoidance sensors. This has been one of, if not the most requested feature for the Mini 2 or for its potential successor, the Mini 3. It's been a massive discussion topic on many of my videos and opinion is divided between those who really want it versus those who say, actually, just be a better pilot. I think the main argument for obstacle avoidance is probably more around its functionality when combined with any form of active tracking of subjects. And the Autel Nano drone does indeed have the ability to do just that, which is great news for those people who want to use this functionality to capture themselves or other moving objects to include in their videos. So spec for spec, the Nano models stack up really well against the Mini 2 and of course against the Mavic Mini and Mini SE as well. The base model Nano, you could argue, is already better given its slightly larger camera sensor and obstacle avoidance sensors, while the Plus model is definitely superior spec-wise as it includes a much bigger camera sensor with a larger aperture, and both models, as I said, have obstacle avoidance sensors included. Now, early reports from people that have tested and reviewed the Autel Nano drone so far indicate that they're performing reasonably well. There will no doubt be some improvements over time, most likely through firmware updates to remedy things like annoying sounds, signal dropouts and occasional glitches. The image quality coming out of the drones look pretty good to me, although there have been some polarizing opinions, some saying they love the quality, whilst others saying the images are over sharpened. Now I guess beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and whilst they will make some improvements over time, that debate will probably never end. So where does that leave DJI? Well, in my opinion, it leaves them in a very good position. Autel have essentially played their hand, and whilst they're likely to make incremental improvements over time, DJI pretty much know what they're competing with. They know the specs they've got to match, or better, and they've no doubt by now got their hands on some Autel drones and have dissected them right up the wazoo. And even though to some of you it might appear that DJI are a little bit behind the eight ball because Autel have got competitive and potentially more feature-rich drones already on the market, DJI do have a number of things in their favour. The key one being a track record. With DJI, you know what you're getting. They've established themselves as the leader in the consumer drone market and continue to produce reliable and very usable gear. Being the market leader, they have more units in people's hands than any other company. And so people are very used to the products, the software and the apps. And as a result, there's a high degree of trust in DJI products. And not just with their drones. They've reinforced that trust with many of the products they have in the hands of consumers like me and you, and professionals, including their gimbals and action cameras, further reinforcing their brand values. The other thing they can play around with is the price. The massive price differential between the Autel Nano series and the Mini 2 has kind of played into DJI's hands. Firstly, Autel have set a price expectation for the technology that we want in a sub 250 gram drone, namely better cameras and more features like obstacle avoidance and active tracking. Everyone expected the Nano series to be more expensive than the Mini 2, but I don't think anyone expected a 30 to 60% difference. So in my opinion, they've left the gate open a little bit wide for DJI and giving them more wiggle room to be able to price the Mini 3 very competitively. The economies of scale that DJI have will also give them the opportunity to reduce the internal component costs as well, giving them even more flexibility with pricing. So as a result of all this, I think there will be a lot of people waiting for a couple of things. One, giving the Autel Nano more time to be in the market, more tests and more reviews to be done, and more improvements and bug fixes to be implemented to see if it really emerges as a viable option to DJI. Next, they will of course be waiting until more information comes out on the Mini 3. In my book, these people want the Mini 3 to be competitive both in terms of features and capability and also in price. So if those boxes are ticked, and combined with DJI's track record and high consumer satisfaction levels in general, I think those people waiting will jump into the Mini 3 quicker than a robber's dog. As for me, you may or may not know that I pre-ordered the Nano Plus when Autel first announced them in September 2021, but cancelled my pre-order just before Christmas for reasons I'll go into in the future. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing how the Mini 3 develops, and my preferred option, if the boxes I mentioned before are ticked, would be to go with the Mini 3. Tell me in the comments section below which way you'd swing, so to speak. Now, even having said that, if everything was in the DJI Mini 3's favour, features, capability and price, I am still not convinced I would actually buy one. Check out this video to see why, because I suspect you may be feeling exactly the same as me. Cheers guys.